So let's round everything about the market direction up. So now we talked about uptrend yesterday. So what's an uptrend? This is an uptrend. Price will start doing something like this. So this thing now is an uptrend, Abi. So what's a downtrend? Let's say it kept on doing something like this. Remember that we talked about the supply and demand zones. Price bought from this area to here now. So whenever it comes to a supply zone, it normally do what? Sells off. So when it start to a supply zone, we have what they call a change of character. Something like this. Before we have the downtrend back to the supply zone where it came out from. The same thing applies again. Whenever it wants to buy again, it continues the same thing. Before it buys, it must change character. Before you start buying again. And whenever it comes to a supply zone again, it must surely react to a sell. Something like this. Then start selling off again. So that is just it. So now we have the movement. The wait. Let me make this thing more. Let me make it cleaner to understand. So let's take for an instance now. You are about to trade, right? So you saw something like this. Okay, you cannot be like let me mark out my demand zones or my what you want to mark out your what discount zones, which is places like here. You want to mark it out. Okay, so let's take for instance that market was here. Okay, then you go and mark out your demand zones. This here is a solid demand. Here is also a solid demand, but it's better for you to mark out these lows. So whenever it comes back to a zone like this, it can be here, it can be here, it can be on top of here. Anytime it comes back here, it reacts. Do you get? Okay. This can be under zone now. Let's say for instance here is under demand zone. Okay. Or wait, not to confuse you guys. Let me just don't confuse you guys. So now It keeps on going. Pull back, come up, maybe leave here again. Okay, so it cannot just come and be like, let us change from an uptrend to a downtrend. It can never do that. Do you understand? So the process by which it moves from this buy to a sell, that is what is called a change of character. When it starts like this signal is bullish, before it can move from this to a sell, that is what they call a change of character. So now it can give you something like this. Actually, something like this. I know that there is a supply zone here. Okay, you can now mark out your supply zone. This is a valid supply zone. Do you get? Then whenever it comes back to a supply zone, right? Note this, it buys from demand and sells from supply. You buy from down, sorry. You buy from all these lows under here. You buy from places like here. Places like here is where you buy from and sell from up here down. But you take a buy from here. So it can just do something like this. Wait, I don't know what's causing this type of rubbish now. So you understand that it buys from the discount zones and then you sell from where? From supply zones, Abi. So this is just the main thing. You buy from all these lows, and whenever it comes up to these supply zones up here, you start taking sales from there. So now you basically wait for price to come into this zone. Then you do what? Whenever it comes to a supply zone, what do? You sell from there. Okay. So sorry for all this wasting of time. So whenever it comes back into this zone here, it can just, after this change of character, you can see something like this. then before you start to sell again. When it takes out all these zones and come back here again, then it can now start change of character again and start buying. Here again sells, from here again it buys, just like that, just like that. That is just it. Okay, so now let us enter the chart now. I'll be giving chart examples now. So we are using okay, let's use this pair for it, gold for it. Yes, so I'll be going back in time. I'll be going back to I don't really know the time. So now this is an uptrend. Remember, if you don't know how to catch an uptrend, see what you basically do. There's nothing much in it. Just get a trend line. You get your trend line on TradingView. Get your trend line. So you mark from here now up here. You can see the trend. You can see it is a buy. Do you see? So if to mark a downtrend, okay, you can see from here now. That is, if you don't know which is an uptrend or downtrend, you can use this trend line and draw it in direction. Now more this advert safe, none the rest too. Okay, so this is a downtrend. You can see. Then we have an uptrend here again. So now, using this space of supply and demand zones now, you can see that here there's a supply zone here because this is top, but when price came, it just kicked it out. So what do you do now? Then supply turns into was a demand zone. So you can basically mark it out, maybe from here to somewhere here. Okay, let's say here. So now we are in an uptrend. Remember what I said, that before price starts to continue a trend, it must come back into a demand zone before the continuation. So let's wait for the continuation now. You can see it is playing. Wait, let me put it there. So basically now we are waiting for it to come into the zone before the continuation. Okay, so now it's about to enter this zone now. Okay, so finally it's here now. Okay, So now it is here. You can see what they call a change of character on the demand zone now. You can see it. Change of character refers to a change from a change. Listen to this carefully. I don't want to hear any story now. Watch. We are in an uptrend before, so price from an uptrend is sold down into my zone. A zone that you can just say a price may touch it before it continues the trend. Okay, so it successfully came back here, change character from a sell to a buy. Do you get my point? So now, since it is in this zone now, we can consider to take a trade from here, targeting all these highs. Do you get my point? Yes. Watch this video carefully. So now, as a trader, you should also have a target. So our target now is where all these highs here. That is our target. Nothing much again. So we can see that price shifted from bullish, turned bearish, then came back to our zone and did what? Had a change of a change of character. So now, before you rush into taking trades from this zone, you have to wait for what? A change in state of what? Demand. We are going to talk about this later. So you can basically take your trade from here, putting your stop loss on this zone. Then you can even target yourself if possible, if you can hold for long. So let's see what happened. Watch. It came back again to that zone. Okay. Nice one. So it is still selling again. The change of character has not been exhausted, right? So now, before we get in again, let us wait for what? Price to close above this range. Price has to close above this range. So once it crosses this zone, we can take the buy, the uptrend from here. Do you get? So let's wait for what happens. So the change of character is happening here now. You can see the change of character changing from what? Bearish, from a sell to a buy. Price is turning bearish to a bullish. That's bullishness is for the buy, bearish is for the sell. This was a sell to our zone. After change of character, price started to do what? Close in my zone. So now let us play the final button and see what happened. Okay, you can see how easy that was. You can see this is a very neat trade. Very neat trade is this. You can see this is just patience. Do you get? So now, even if we play it furthermore again, you can see that it successfully hit our zone. So now watch. This was the demand zone, right? So now, when price came back to the supply zone, as I said earlier, this thing here is the supply zone. Price just touched it. You can see it well. Price came to my zone and I bought from here. It came back to this supply zone over here. To this supply zone here. There's more supply there. Even if you, okay, there's more supply there. So now, as a patient trader, what are you waiting for? You wait for price to do what? Come back to this zone before you do what? You sell from there. So you wait, keep on waiting. Okay, you can see now. Take a look at this. Take a very, very neat look at this. Price came back to this zone here. You can basically wait for it to come into this zone. So now what do you wait for? You wait for what? Price to close in so that you can have a change in state of demand. Yeah. Okay. You wait for price to what? Close below this zone. Once it breaks here, you can sell from there. So let's keep on playing the button. Okay, so now it broke that zone successfully. Okay, so from here now you can sell, right, to target what? Your demand zones. Matter you sell from what? A supply to a demand and buy from demand to a supply. So now you can basically come and then take a short trade from here. Okay, so now I will start targeting where you put your stop loss in where in your demand zones, areas like these in your demand zones. You can put your stop loss here. Then you target what? Your demand zones or what? Or your discount zones. So let's see what happened. Okay, it means our stop loss is meant to be a kind of higher. If that stop loss was somewhere here. Okay, that's his stop loss. This one his stop loss. So this is just the this is just it. You buy from where? Your demand, and sell from where? Your supply zone. So guys, that's just it for now. This is supply and demand zones explained.